Democrats lost the House, and Nancy Pelosi is losing her job as Speaker of the House. Join us as American voters react. Nancy Pelosi has spent 35 years as a congresswoman and has been leading congressional Democrats for almost 20 years, very prominently during the Trump era, where she oversaw multiple investigations and impeachment efforts. But how do American voters view Pelosi? Not great overall. Only 40% of voters say they have at least a somewhat favorable opinion of her. And that's low, quite a bit lower than Biden's favorability, in fact. But for someone with such low favorability ratings, she has an abnormally high number, 22%, for very favorable. 54% of voters have at least a somewhat unfavorable opinion of Pelosi, and 42% of them say very unfavorable. But here are the party numbers. She's viewed favorably by 17% of Republicans, and 7% of them say very favorable. As a benchmark and a preview for tomorrow's story, that 7% is actually higher than the number of Republicans who have a very favorable opinion of Mitch McConnell. But Pelosi has way higher very unfavorable numbers at 68% among Republicans, and 81% of Republicans have at least a somewhat unfavorable opinion of her. Those are basically Voldemort numbers, and the total unfavorable for Pelosi is even slightly higher than the last time we checked Biden. But what about independents? It's better, but not by much. 35% of independents have an at least somewhat favorable opinion of Pelosi, but her total unfavorability is at 58%. She fares about the same as Biden among independents. But for Democrats, her numbers are pretty good. Way better than McCarthy's numbers among Republicans, which, again, we'll be covering tomorrow. She's edged out slightly by Biden with overall favorability, but she's about on par with him with a 40% very favorable number. 9% of Democrats weren't sure how to answer the question, even more than independents, and that is pretty surprising. Black, Hispanic, and younger voters were much more likely to answer not sure than anyone else, so that's likely where the signal is coming from. Pelosi's numbers are pretty consistent with the last time we asked her favorability in August. She's converted a few more voters from somewhat favorable to very favorable, mostly Democrats, though she has lost a few points of overall favorability among Democrats. My take, nobody really blames Pelosi for the Democrat loss of the House, at least not enough to massively change opinions about her. But get this, 68% of voters say her decision to step down as the leader of House Democrats is a good decision, and only 17% say bad decision. Here are the party numbers. 80% of Republicans are happy to see her go, but also 59% of Democrats, and only 23% of Democrats think her leaving her leadership position is a bad idea. The only demographic who can get to even just 30% saying it's a bad idea she steps down are the 22% of voters who have a very favorable opinion of her. And a majority of them, 54%, still say it's a good idea she steps down. I'll leave the last question as a bonus for our paid subscribers. We asked voters whether New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries would be a better leader or a worse leader than Nancy Pelosi for Democrats in the House. Not many people know who he is, but Democrats definitely had an opinion. One that smells a little bit like Coke. Go check it out for yourself. Was this video informative? If so, please like it and subscribe to our channel. We're covering topics that YouTube's algorithm isn't really tuned for, so any help sharing our content would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching.